Ashley, let's go to the hotline, and let's bring in the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, the voice of the Texas Longhorns, and the co-host of the two-time Emmy Award-winning High School Scoreboard Live. It is Mr. Craig Way. Craig, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great, holiday week, turkey week, all of that kind of stuff, football week, round 3, all those great things that go into a holiday week.
So we've obviously looking forward to the regional semifinals. It's a bit of a weird week as far as truncated schedules are concerned because not everybody's working the whole week, but I do want to take a look back at the area round because it seems to me that every single year there's one round where you throw your brackets into the wood chipper, and it seems like it's either round 2 or round 3. This year it was round 2. I don't want to be a victim of the moment here, but in the historical context of Texas high school football, that was a pretty crazy weekend, right?
I like the way you describe it. Not just in terms of the upsets, because we had those, clearly. Big, or put it this way, unexpected winners. And I don't know how, upsets plays into the minds of folks who look at Jesuit and say, hey, we were good enough to beat Longview. We could do it. Rodney Webb's ball club at Rockwall say, hey, we were good enough to do it. We could do it. I mean, there were those that dotted the landscape, but not just those, the crazy way that games ended up. I mean, the epic fourth quarter for Denton Geyer in Cedar Hill. I mean, that comes to mind. There were some other games like that, not quite to that crazy level, but you did have some wild finishes, and you had some really tense things that you normally have in the playoffs, and statistically, numbers had kind of borne out in the past since going to the 2-division concept when they split them before the start of the year, that there were more surprises in the second round than any other round. But I'm with you, Tep. The second and third round have been the two most, let's just say, not expected result winners of the rounds of the playoffs than any of the others that we've seen.
Most especially the chaos reigned in 6A Division 2, where we lost not just the defending state champ, but also the, I guess, reigning runner-up, the reigning finalist now in their. That's not even to take into account the craziness we saw with Denton Geyer and Cedar Hill. And so now I guess my question to you is, when you look at the 6A Division 2 bracket or what's left of it, is it safe to say that teams like Denton Geyer, Austin Westlake, and Spring Westfield are the big winners simply by surviving and advancing past this week where everything got thrown up in the air?
I think that's more than a fair way to put it. You know what this season reminds me of, Tep? And I got to thinking about this over the weekend. It reminds me of 2011. And in 2011, what did we end up with? We ended up with Dekaney and Steele. Dekaney, obviously, Trey Williams, great running back, but they hadn't been in that party before, gotten that level. Steele had kind of been there, so they were kind of a known quantity a bit. And not only did we get Dekaney, perhaps an unexpected state champion, we got runaway golf cart that night. And that was the final game of the entire weekend. What do we have this weekend? We have the final game this year of state championship week and state championship weekend being 6A Division II Saturday night. The only thing that will be missing will be a runaway golf cart.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Well, we don't know that quite yet. It's Craig Way, the Texas High Football Hall of Famer, joined us here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. All right. Down there in the Austin area and in the San Antonio area, this is known as Valley Week because you've got teams from the Rio Grande Valley and Laredo that are coming and playing teams from the Austin area and the San Antonio area. You know, last year we had Mission Veterans Memorial make it through to the regional final. We nearly had, I think people forget, we nearly had Brownsville Hannah get through as well. Is there a sense that maybe this is going to be, you know, traditionally Austin and San Antonio have tended to end the season for the Valley this round? Is there a feeling, at least there in the Austin area, that that it's going to return to form and we're going to have a little bit more of teams from the major metro areas taking out those teams from down south?
Well, I think the consensus of a lot of the fans and media down here is that it's going to be that case. Obviously, don't tell that to the coaches. I got off the phone with Lake Travis and Coach Hank Carter this morning. We were talking about it, and I said the mere mention of the phrase Valley Week comes across as distasteful to those folks down in the Rio Grande Valley and all that, because it's like it's all lumped into one sack. Oh, Valley Week, okay, sweep them aside, then we get on to the games that really matter. And I said, I know you don't look at it that way, Hank. I said, but that perception is out there. And he said, oh, I know the perception's out there, but we approach anybody that says Valley Week or whatever. He goes, the only time we ever even consider that phraseology is if you're talking about it from a geographical standpoint, because the way the brackets are set up, the way the playoff structure is aligned, in 99% of the cases, it is going to be either a Greater Austin or a Greater San Antonio area school facing a school from the Rio Grande Valley or Laredo, as is the case also this year, that you'll have that. He said that's more of a geographical term that they've heard over the years. They don't look at it that way. He said, we understand that once you get to this round, and even before, but especially from round 3 forward, if you're not on your game, he said, if we don't play well, we will lose. He said, we played Weslaco a year ago. He's impressed with what they have, and it didn't sound like just coach speak. They know they have to be on their game, otherwise they could fall victim to an upset, and I'm sure Todd Dodge feels the same way at Westlake, getting ready to take on Weslaco East.
So we're moving forward to the regional semifinals, and of course, you know, the games only get bigger, only get magnified, and there's huge games all across the state. I want to give you 3 rematches. 3 rematches, games that we have already seen this year, and I am interested in which one you will be most locked in on, most keeping an eye on, most interested in. Is it?
Do I get to get a helicopter to at least try to go between games then?
Yeah,
probably not.
In this exercise, let's say yes.
Okay. All right.
Is it 4 o'clock Friday at NRG Stadium, Houston, or in the big game in Houston, Galena Park, North Shore, and Katy? Of course, Katy won the opener 24-21. Is it Frisco Lone Star in Highland Park, 3:30 p.m. Friday at AT&T Stadium? Of course, Frisco Lone Star ended Highland Park's long home winning streak earlier this season. Or, and here's the wild card, is it 7 o'clock Thursday in Hico, as Strawn and Gordon, one of the great 6-man rivalries in America, duke it out for a spot in a state semifinal? Which of those
on Thanksgiving night?
Which of those are you most intrigued by?
Well, let me just put it to you this way. I'm having Thanksgiving dinner in the afternoon on Thursday at my girlfriend Linda, you know her well, her family in Plano. So I'm going to be up in Plano, and I've specifically asked if they know the exact meal time, because they know I have to come back to Austin to do the Texas Longhorns game Friday morning against Texas Tech. The question is it early enough to allow me to get the heck out of there to get to Hico in time for that 7 o'clock kick? So that's been on my mind. Having said that, I am perhaps most intrigued by Lone Star and Highland Park, because we saw what Lone Star did and did it in rather dominating fashion in the earlier meeting with the Scots. I almost look at Highland Park in a similar vein to how I'm looking at Aledo. Are they ready to be able to take that next big step and continue on toward trying to win another state title? And you and I talked about this yesterday, Tep. If somebody out of the defending state champion mold needs to be put on upset watch, maybe it's Aledo this week against a very good Red Oak team. Having said that, this would not be an upset, obviously, if Highland Park were to lose to Lone Star a second time. It might surprise some folks, but I don't think it will be an upset. I'm really curious to see how the Scots respond, and if Lone Star is ready to prove, it was for real the first time. We are a for real number 1 ranked team, and we are for real a state championship contender.
And finally, Craig, as you know, I guess you probably have this in your Palm Pilot, that this high school scoreboard live.
Palm Pilots anymore? Do we even have Palm Pilots anymore?
That high school scoreboard live moves to Saturday this week and forevermore in 2019. How does because I know you are a guy who has a rigorous preparation schedule. I mean, I know you like to get on the exercise bike. You like to get a good sweat going before you get into the high school football. How does this change your preparation for the Emmy Award winning broadcast?
It helps me in one respect. It does help me this week, obviously, with a football game in Austin. Now, having said all that, you and I know how I feel about this. When I get out of the broadcast booth on Friday afternoon, I'm going somewhere to see a game Friday night. Mm-hmm. I can do the easy route and go to the field in Pflugerville and see at the field. I could see Cedar Park and Manor, but I've got a couple other games pulling at me, like maybe Wimberley and Rockport Fulton. It's a 2.5-hour drive down to Beeville, or maybe up to Abilene. What time is that kick, by the way, for Estacado and Greenwood on Friday? Is that
I've got that. That's a 7:00 kick at Anthony Field.
Ooh, I could make that. See, I'm wanting to see obviously also games out of the games, the classifications that I know I'll be calling the state championships. Like I'm calling 7 of the 12, and 4A Division II is one of those. So that's why I was thinking about Wimberley. That's also why I'm clearly thinking about that one there in Abilene. So I'll do that Friday. And then Saturday, I got a basketball game at 1 o'clock, and then it's an easy commute up for Saturday night. So this weekend, not that much of an issue. It'll be real interesting if I wind up working television on a call for Judson Lake Travis if they both win and play in the afternoon in the Alamo Dome, and I got to catch a flight to get up in time for the show. But, hey, that's what the postseason's all about now, isn't it?
He's Craig Way. He would know what the postseason's all about. He's the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. Follow him on Twitter at CraigWay1. And, of course, here, his fine call, I presume is fine, of the Longhorns and the Red Raiders on the Longhorn network, Longhorn Radio Network down there in Austin, coming up on 11 o'clock on Friday morning. And then watch him on High School Scoreboard Live Saturday at 11 o'clock. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend, and happy Thanksgiving.
Looking forward to our own special, unique, kind of warped version of Saturday Night Live.
Thanks, Craig.